Hello and welcome to the Kanawha Valley Hustlers podcast. I am joined here today in South Charleston with Steven Ghareeb. He is one of the owners of Ghareeb Dental Group. And I say one of the owners because I think it's a little bit of a complicated family history that I really want to get into. But
so.
Before we get into that, Steven, tell me, buddy, what's your hustle?
Well, teeth, obviously. Yes, being a dentist, I'm into teeth all the time. So that's what we do. We have a lot of family into the business as well. So we love making people smile and making them look good when they do it.
Awesome. And I know the Ghareeb Dental Group has quite a few offices in and around the Kanawha Valley.
That's
What
right.
if you could give me kind of an introduction to the history of the Ghareeb Dental Group?
For sure. It is a bit of a history, like you say. There's a story to it, and it all starts with my father, Dr. Sami Ghareeb. He started out in Poca with his first dental office. Now he immigrated from Lebanon and thought he was going to go back to Lebanon and provide treatment to patients there in his home country. But then he met a lovely young lady, one nice lady from Red House at West Virginia State while he was there attending undergraduate, and that ended up being my mother, Kay Ghareeb. So they met, married, and
So it's a good thing that his plans got derailed for you.
I would
then,
say
right?
so. That's right. That set things up for us pretty nicely for many of us. So we've got my mom and dad met at West Virginia State. Then he went on and continued his education many places, but ended up in dental school, and she was with him there. Came back and opened up a practice in Poca, West Virginia, and that was nearby where mom grew up and her family there as well. And then my father also had other family that he brought over as well, and that lived here. And so they created their life here, had 5 children. I am right smack dab in the middle of them. And from the beginning, I always saw my dad enjoying what he did. He loved helping people, and he loved going to work and providing care for patients. And I always knew from kindergarten, they ask you in kindergarten, what are you going to do when you grow up? And my answer was always being a dentist. So I continued on that path and ended up going to dental school, graduating in 2004. And I met my wife in school as well there. Shayna, she was in the dental hygiene program there. So I married a hygienist, started working with my father, and we worked in the same practice for 1 year. And that was about enough for him, I guess, because he's like, Steven, it's time to look for another office. It's getting not that it was getting too small, but nonetheless, there was an opportunity right here where we are that a practice came up for sale, and I said, yeah, let's look at that and see what could happen there. And fortunately, it's worked out. And in 2005, bought the practice here, worked downstairs in the basement. I was kind of the crazy dentist in the basement for a while, and was down there for, I believe, 5 years or so, and saved up and renovated upstairs and moved the practice upstairs. And that was quite a change, and it's turned out well for us. But I went through dental school. Then my brother ended up going back through dental school as well, and he came out, worked with my dad for a period of time. We call that the Dr. Ghareeb residency. In medicine and dentistry, sometimes there's residencies. My father's a great teacher. He can be, a tough instructor on his own children especially. So Mitri, my brother, went through that same residency in a sense, and then found a practice. He bought his practice. We had a brother-in-law, Matthew Scarberry, that he was in dental school with Mitri, and then met my sister Kathleen. Our sister Kathleen while she was in dental hygiene school as well. So he came, worked with my dad for a little while, and bought his own practice. Another brother-in-law, Joshua Massey, he was married to my sister Cindy, and she was in medical school. He was in dental school, and he came back, worked with my dad for a while, then went out and bought a practice. And so that's kind of the formula that it's turned into.
I'm going to need a flow chart to get all this figured out. Wow, this is quite the story.
Yeah, so we've got 5 of us children. Just about we all have a dental connection, except one, the black sheep of the family there. That's Samia, she calls herself, with her being in medicine, and she and her husband are physicians, and but they're still of course, in and involved with everything as well. So then family conversations, there's a lot of talk about teeth for sure, but it's fun. And we had also in my office for about 5 years, I had my associate, Dr. Carson Henley, in here, and he ended up buying a location in Kanawha City. So he has got our most recent office in Kanawha City, and that's the 6th. So we've got Poca, South Charleston, Cross Lanes, St. Albans, Tays Valley, and now Kanawha City. So
wow,
that's a long answer to the question.
And each one of those is operated by a family member. Is that right?
All but Kanawha City. Kanawha City's Dr. Henley.
Okay,
but he's been around long enough to we call him
you
family.
Consider him family.
Yeah. Beat up on him like a brother, so that's all right. So
tell me, what is it that sets the Ghareeb Dental Group apart from the other dentists in the area?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, our big I don't know, what do you call that? Initiative, I suppose I'm trying to say, is that we are very committed to continuing education. So much so that my father, Dr. Sami Ghareeb, helped start our West Virginia Academy of General Dentistry years ago, which puts on amazing continuing education events. And if anyone's in and around medicine and dentistry, you know that we have to do certain educational training every year. Well, this organization, Academy of General Dentistry, their big mantra is a dedication to continuing education. So he, in fact, has helped provide that for dentists all across the state and region for years. And we're carrying on that mantle as well. And as a result, we've all spent hundreds of hours learning more so we can provide our patients the best and the most excellent care that is possible. So I think that really sets us apart, is the dedication to furthering our education, continuing our education for our lifetimes and throughout our careers. And that's really helped us with our patients. Now here, in my office, it's a little different than some of the other offices, and we all have our own kind of flavor in a sense, but we all operate under Ghareeb Dental Group with the same directives in mind. But personally here in my office, also what further sets us apart is a dedication to providing high-end cosmetic dentistry to our patients. And that goes from bondings, veneers, crowns, all the way to Botox, fillers, non-surgical cosmetic enhancements for patients, and facial rejuvenation as well. So it's been a big part of our practice for a long time that we've really continued to highlight. And now we're also have been doing it for a number of years now, but really doing more and more implant dentistry, which is another big thing. But that's a big differentiator for all of our practices, is that we do a lot of the work within our own practice. We don't refer everything out to to different specialists. We have great specialists that we work with a lot, but due to our commitment to continuing education, I feel that we have a very broad scope of procedures that we can offer our patients and do at a very high level. So in my practice, we're doing a lot of implant dentistry that relates to not just a single implant on a tooth, but when patients come in and they need their entire mouth renovated, in a sense, to use a construction word, but we do full mouth rehabilitation, basically, is what we call that in dentistry. And we can place dental implants in the mouth and give them either dentures that snap to them or bridges that don't come in and out. And that's become a very large part of our practice as well. That separates us from a lot of other doctors.
Now, I do know that when it comes to dentistry, when it comes to teeth in general, there is a certain stigma in Appalachia.
Oh, yeah. Do
you find that there are particular challenges or some things that are unique when you talk to your colleagues outside of the region?
Sure, yeah. It's different because we do talk to a lot of our colleagues out of the region, being involved in a lot of these national organizations that we are. And the biggest thing and one of the best characteristics of a dentist in West Virginia, and specifically a dentist that graduated from WVU, is that we are trained to do the full scope of practice, because it's not that common outside of our area for dentists to feel comfortable providing a patient with a root canal and a filling and a crown, maybe all at the same appointment, because they're used to sending them to a specialist to do one procedure, and then a different specialist for another procedure, and they are very specific in what they feel that they're comfortable in doing. But going to WVU, we've always been taught and trained to provide the full scope of practice to our patients. So I do see that other dentists are a little bit surprised by how versatile we can treat our patients with. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's good to know. Well, as we're starting to come to the end of our conversation here, I do want to ask you, because I run into this all the time, and I always like to ask people, if somebody's getting started, if they have an idea that maybe they want to get into dentistry, maybe they just want to open a practice, maybe they're into that kind of thing because we're fostering an entrepreneurial spirit. Sure. What kind of general advice do you give to people, especially young people, when it comes to getting started out there?
Yeah, I would recommend to spend time in a dental office. We are also known for helping educate young people in the field of dentistry. In dentistry, it's not just the doctor. There's the assistant. There's the hygienist I've already mentioned that goes to extra schooling as well. There are receptionists. There are office managers. There are laboratory technicians. Within a dental community, there are many different hats to wear. The way to figure out if you want to get plugged into that is to call your dentist, call us and say, hey, can I come and shadow for a little bit just to see what it's all about? And then we can help direct you on the right path to go. And there's so many different options in dentistry that a lot of people don't realize are there. So I'd say spend time in it and come and ask questions. We're happy to help.
Awesome. Steven, and as we wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to talk about that we haven't covered here today?
I would love the pro-entrepreneurial aspect of this podcast, and I want to help foster that as best we can. So anytime we want to talk more about that, I'm happy to do it.
Awesome. I probably want to get your dad on here at some point.
Oh, man.
I bet he's got some stories.
He does. He's great to talk with.
Great. Steven, I want to thank you so much, and thank you all for listening today. Be sure to like and share with all of your friends and let everybody know how to find out more about hustlers here in the Kanawha Valley. And as the Kanawha Valley Hustler, I want to remind you to hustle hard, hustle smart, and hustle with a smile.